Remember when gaming systems went entertainment bundles? When they didn't come with a free trial of Netflix and DVR capabilities? When they were nothing more than a box and a couple of cartridges that you'd sit and play. Play. A word that has become brushed aside in the fast-growing world of entertainment. As competitors move forward with their multimedia systems with a plethora of capabilities, PlayStation has remained the core gaming experience for those who want to simply play video games. This is for the players. This is 20 years of PlayStation. Tokyo, Japan. A small printing company in the city housed the Kutaragi family. A family who were not rich by any means but had their heart and soul set on being the best they could possibly be. This was the fate for Ken Kutaragi, who worked amongst the machines and mechanisms of the printing company after he'd finished school. A straight-A student, Ken soon found a desire to tinker, to build with scraps and craft older items into newer ones. It was this regenerative desire that inspired Kutaragi in later life. In the 1980s, the then 30-year-old Kutaragi watched his daughter play a Nintendo Entertainment System, or Famicom. Inspired, Kutaragi immediately accepted an offer from Nintendo to work on a wavetable sound chip for their newest system. But Kutaragi, at that point, had already begun working for Sony, who were not pleased one of their employees was helping another entertainment company, despite the latter's disinterest in the video game market. During this time, there was an extremely negative connotation regarding games. Looked down upon, trodden upon, and seen as a fad, gaming was in an extremely tricky situation. Yet despite this, Kutaragi began working on a Super Famicom CD, a disc drive for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. These plans would evolve into the PlayStation, a console that would run both Super Famicom or SNES systems, as well as games and software available for the Super CD, a new format being launched at the time. These plans eventually dissolved between Nintendo and Sony, with Nintendo's Hiroshi Yamauchi realizing that the earlier agreement essentially handed Sony complete control over any and all titles written on the SNES CD-ROM format. Kutaragi's original PlayStation dream crumbled before it even began. Like the scraps of metal he brought back to life as a child, Ken Kutaragi didn't give up on the PlayStation. Working solely with Sony, Kutaragi and the team brought to life the original PlayStation, launched in Japan in December 1994 and North America on September 9th, 1995. The very first PlayStation came with copies of Battle Arena Toshinden, Warhawk, Air Combat, Philosoma, Ridge Racer and Rayman for the price of $299. The functionality of the PlayStation was overbearing for its competitors due to the fact that not only could it play disc-based games, but could also play audio CDs and manage memory card storage. Sony also decided early on that it would play a huge role in maintaining 3D polygonal graphics primarily across all of its games, with games like Rayman and Ridge Racer making use of the PlayStation's powerful capabilities. Critics applauded the PlayStation's ambitions, with Microsoft's Bill Gates stating that he preferred the PlayStation to Sega's console at the time, the Saturn. However, despite its critically acclaimed launch, there were still numerous problems with the hardware. The biggest concern was the fact that in earlier models of the PlayStation, players experienced a ticking noise coming from the console which would skip video display on the screen and disrupt gameplay. This was caused by the PlayStation's ventilation system, with vents placed in such a sense that they disrupted the internal laser-based disc reading, and furthermore, occasionally the PlayStation would not produce a proper signal on several models of televisions, causing the display to flicker or bounce around on the screen. In 2000, PlayStation revealed the PS1, a slimmer, better built and safer version of the original PlayStation, which could also be called the PlayStation 1. It had all the same capabilities of the first PlayStation, but this time there were alterations to the GUI, ports, and of course the appearance with a smaller, slimmer and sleeker cosmetic. Sony also revealed a version with a 5-inch LCD screen and an adapter called the Combo Pack for players who didn't want to hook their console up to their home TV. The PS1 became the highest selling console for the year. The Sega Dreamcast began to hit shelves in 1998, and Sony had nothing to combat it with. No defence and no offence. Sony went back to the drawing board and started work on their next home console, the now legendary PlayStation 2. Building on what made the original PlayStation so great, Sony worked on making sure that the PlayStation 2's power would outshine the Dreamcast in every way possible, but despite its announcement in 1999, the Dreamcast would go on to move 500,000 units within a mere 2 weeks. Sony needed games, and they needed them now. At the Tokyo Game Show in September 1999, Sony showed off versions of Gran Turismo 2000 and Tekken Tag Tournament. Both games were designed to show off the PS2's incredible power and graphical capabilities, with fully rendered 3D polygonal graphics running in 480p and 480i resolutions. The PS2 was launched in March 2000 in Japan, October in North America and November in Europe. Sales of the console, games and accessories pulled in $250 million on the first day, beating the $97 million made on the first day of the Dreamcast. However, after its launch, it was extremely difficult to find PS2s on shelves because of manufacturing delays, and the way around this for most gamers was to purchase the console from eBay, with some players paying around $1,000 for the machine. The PS2 initially sold well partly on the basis of the strength of the PlayStation brand and the console's backwards compatibility, selling over 980,000 units in Japan by March 5th, 2000. Furthermore, the PlayStation 2's debut price was below the average DVD players, meaning that it was better for budgeting to buy a PS2 for DVDs rather than an actual DVD player. The PlayStation 2 stormed Sega's defences and rendered them financially inept by the end of 2001. With the Dreamcast now being discontinued, Sony worked on maintaining their position as the only games entertainment system for the next 6 months until the arrival of the new kids on the block, Microsoft's Xbox and Nintendo's GameCube. The Xbox was the most powerful console, the GameCube the cheapest, but PS2 had a head start, and new games from the Grand Theft Auto and Metal Gear series, which catapulted the console, despite its new competitors. In September 2004, in time for the launch of Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, Sony revealed a newer, slimmer model of the PS2. In preparation for the launch of the new model, Sony stopped making the older models to let the distribution channel empty its stock of the units. After an apparent manufacturing issue, Sony reportedly underestimated demand, caused some initial slowdown in producing the new unit, caused in part by shortages between the time the old units were cleared out and the new units were ready. The issue was compounded in Britain when a Russian oil tanker became stuck in the Suez Canal, blocking a ship from China carrying PS2s bound for the UK. During 1 week in November, British sales totaled 6,000 units, compared to 70,000 units a few weeks prior. There were shortages in more than 1,700 stores in North America on the day before Christmas. Despite this, PS2 became and still is the biggest console of our time. E3 2005. Hot off the heels of another amazing year with the PlayStation 2, it was time for Sony to move on and reach pastures new with the PlayStation 3. With rising heat from Microsoft's Xbox 360 and Nintendo's new Wii platform, Sony needed an answer, and that was the PS3. The PS3 was the only console to come with Blu-ray disc reading at the time, but it wasn't shown functionally apart from small software development kits available to devs. Also shown off was a prototype controller for the PlayStation 3 called the Boomerang. And it was ugly as hell, with an awkward shape and face buttons. Luckily, Sony's Boomerang was scrapped and replaced with the 6-axis, a much more familiar controller design. A major feature of the 6-axis controller, and from where its name derived, is the ability to sense both rotational orientation and translational acceleration alongside all 3-dimensional axes, providing 6 degrees of freedom. 6-axis. It's spelled the same backwards, you know. The initial prototype shown in May 2005 featured 2 HDMI ports, 3 Ethernet ports, and 6 USB ports. However, when the system was shown again a year later at E3 2006, these were reduced to 1 HDMI port, 1 Ethernet port, and 4 USB ports, presumably to cut costs. Two hardware configurations were also announced for the console, a 20GB model and a 60GB model, priced at $499 and $599 respectively. At its release in November 2006, chaos ensued. Soon after its release in Japan, PS3 was released in North America amidst a flurry of violence, crime and robberies, with one person being shot, a 60-man brawl over 10 PS3 systems, and people being robbed at gunpoint. The console was originally planned for a global release through November, but at the start of September, the release in Europe and the rest of the world was delayed until March. With it being a somewhat last-minute delay, some companies had taken deposits for pre-orders, at which Sony informed customers that they were eligible for full refunds or could continue with the pre-order. On January 24, 2007, Sony announced that PlayStation 3 would go on sale on March 23, 2007 in Europe, Australia and the Middle East, Africa and New Zealand. The system sold about 600,000 units in its first 2 days. PS3 launched in America with a whole heap of launch titles. These included titles ranging from Resistance: Fall of Man to Ridge Racer 7. Later in the game's life cycle, now household franchises such as Little Big Planet and the Uncharted series were recreated for the PlayStation 3. Because of its hefty price tag, and the fact that it didn't have such revolutionary features like the Wii or a head start like the Xbox 360, Sony's PlayStation 3 had a slow launch. The games were unmemorable, the console was delayed multiple times, and all in all, it didn't captivate gamers as Sony had hoped it would do, like it had done before. And then came the PS4. For 20 years, PlayStation has been ruling the gaming market. The PS4 is still going strong, already outpacing the PS2 in sales. With games such as Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain, Destiny, and Uncharted ruling the market, PlayStation shows no signs of slowing down. 20 years of fun. 20 years of excitement. 20 years of PlayStation.